Allah Azza wa Jal in Surah Al-Kahf, a surah that we're supposed to recite every Friday, mentions 4 stories. And the third of these stories involves Musa alayhi salam, and it's the only time that the story has been mentioned. It's a very different part of his life, and it's a very personal journey. Most of the time when you read about Musa alayhi salam, it's either him directly speaking with Allah, or he's engaged with the Israelites, or he's challenging the Pharaoh, and it's a very public role or a leadership role. But in this particular story, it's very different from all the other things we learn about Musa alayhi salam. As a matter of fact, there are so many mysteries about this story. We don't even know exactly where to place this in his life. We know that it seems to have happened after they crossed the water, but exactly when historically and where he went, we don't know. And Allah chose not to tell us. But some things I want you to know about today for the purpose of this khutbah. My intention is not to actually tell you the entire story, but to highlight something Allah said within this profound account that Allah has mentioned. And that is that Allah Azza wa Jalla, in describing Musa alayhi salam, first of all, the most talked about prophet in the entire Qur'an. Nobody is mentioned by name more than Musa alayhi salam. And of course, he's been given the book, which then became the book that more prophets taught than any other prophet. Meaning Allah gave him Torah, and after he gave him Torah alayhi salam, every generation after him had a prophet, and they taught Torah again and again and again and again and again. So more prophets were students of what he was given than any other prophet. So also, of course, Allah Azza wa Jal describes the people that ascribe themselves to him, the Jewish community. He describes them as ahbar, people of ink, people of knowledge, right? And ulama, Bani Israel, Qur'an uses the word scholars, or people of knowledge of the Israelites, meaning these are people that actually have profound knowledge. This is something they have from Allah, that Allah Azza wa Jal gave them. Even after the changes they made to the book, there's still some knowledge that they possess. So Allah highlights the knowledge and the highest status of Musa alayhi salam over and over again in the Qur'an. But then in this story, he is not the teacher, he's the student. Musa alayhi salam, who is in every other scenario a teacher, is now a student. And this is not early on. You know, when you think of education, early on in your career, you're learning, you're a student, and when you get certain qualifications, then after that you become a teacher. That's the normal progression of things. But this, from what we can tell, is actually happening much later on in the life of Musa alayhi salam, much after he's been a teacher. As a matter of fact, he's been a teacher to the Israelites. He's already received the Torah. He has been teaching on behalf of Allah Azza wa Jal. And if we're to accept the authenticity of the narration, it's even claimed that nobody was more knowledgeable on earth than Musa alayhi salam, that he didn't know of anyone who had more knowledge. And yet Allah tells him, there's someone who knows more than you do, and you need to go learn from him. And so this really interesting story is now about someone who from what we can tell in the Quran, was given more knowledge than anybody else, and yet Allah is telling him that you need to go learn from someone else. Now, the more someone is learned, the more qualifications they have, credentials they have, the higher status they have in society. I'm not even talking about religious knowledge. If somebody's got a PhD, it's a form of respect. If somebody's a professor in university, it's a kind of prestige. We know that. This is why we celebrate people that graduate, whether you're graduating high school or college, or you got a master's degree, or you got a PhD, or with Islamic studies, you got an ijaza, or you finished memorizing the Quran. Whenever somebody accomplishes something in education, their status is increased. They're more recognized in the society. People listen to them and they have more validity. And yet, this person who Allah describes as more knowledgeable, clearly, as even than Musa alayhi salam, rather, Musa alayhi salam is traveling an exhaustive amount to come learn from him. Nobody knows him. Nobody knows him. As a matter of fact, one of the most interesting things, is that we don't even know his name. The Quran, Allah did not mention his name. Yes, in the narrations we learned the name Khidr or Khidr, and there are variations of that spelling that are mentioned. But Allah, in his perfect speech, decided not to tell us who is this teacher of Musa alayhi salam. He didn't tell him his name. So how did Allah describe him? This is where I want to begin really today. He says, فَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا. Meaning Musa alayhi salam and his young assistant, they traveled together and they eventually found, listen to this carefully now, a slave from among our slaves, which is probably in closer English expression would be just one of our slaves. They just found one of our slaves. One of our slaves is a description of all of us. That's not a special description. We're learning something profound here. To Allah Azza wa Jal, the more someone gains knowledge, the more they are identified as just another one of Allah's slaves. That doesn't make them more special than anyone else, It actually makes them realize, innani min al-muslimin, I'm just among everybody else. I'm not superior to anybody else. You see, every other knowledge, when somebody gains it, somebody gets a degree, they kind of like get a little full of themselves. Like if they're going to a convention and they've got a PhD, they're not just going to say Abdul Karim. They're going to say Dr. Abdul Karim, comma, PhD. Wait, let me put the P with double marker and H and D, you know. Or you introduce yourself to someone, hey, my name is Salman. No, my name is Dr. Salman. Or your email ID, whatever. It doesn't say Zainab, it says Zainab MBA or whatever. You know, you have to add your credential because it's a form of I'm something. I have some value, you know, and people love throwing that on. I'm reminded back in the day when I was in college, this is in the 1800s, but when I used to go to, you know, MSA conventions, my friends, just for fun, they put their name, like he's like the second year of college, he's putting his name, Dr. Faris Mahmoud, PhD, times 10. But the idea that credentials give you a kind of status. And what is that status with Allah? Well, if you really truly have knowledge, and if I really truly have knowledge, then we recognize the highest status with Allah of the highest knowledge is that I'm just a slave. I am and the word slave I use deliberately. I didn't say servant. I said slave because it's kind of an offensive term, right? And literally in the Arabic language, I have to try to translate the Arabic of the Quran as close to the English as possible. I'm not trying to be politically correct. I'm trying to be accurate from a language point of view. Abd actually does mean slave. And yes, slave is an offensive term, but I want you to understand why that's used. Because slavery to anyone other than Allah is humiliation, but slavery to Allah is an honor. It's actually freedom. And also, you can't think of any title that somebody could give you that could be lower than slave. Like whoever has a job in the world, any role in the world, when they take that role, there is no more humble, more lower a title than that one. Here you have someone who has higher and higher, the highest knowledge, and yet all he is abdan, a slave. And on top of that, it's not al-abd. It's not even mu'arraf billam. It's not even the servant. Like this is the man to learn from. No, just any servant. There's an anonymity to him. This is profound because it teaches us something about what it means to truly learn Islam. When somebody's truly learning the knowledge of Allah, then actually they are more and more and more within everyone else, not above. They're not above them. They are more humbled than they are full of their credentials. Do you know where I graduated from? Do you know what degree I have? Do you have an ijazah in this? Did you study under this sheikh? None of that matters now. That disappears. You see, Shah Waliullah Dahlvi rahimahullah said something beautiful. It stuck with me since I heard it in my youth. He described somebody who has true knowledge. He said, when a tree bears fruit, its branches lower. When the tree bears fruit, its branches lower. The idea meaning if you've truly borne the fruit of knowledge, then there's a humility that impacts you. You come lower. You don't think of yourself as higher. When somebody's questioning you, criticizing you, in your head, you're not processing, who are you to ask me? Excuse me, what do you know? Are you even on YouTube? You're going to ask me? That's not what's going on in your head. That's not what's going on in my head. This is the attitude of abdan min ibadina. Now, Musa alayhi salam was given ilmul kitab. He was given knowledge of revelation. This is the next part of what I want to share with you. Musa alayhi salam was given Tawrat, which is the word of Allah. It's the Qur'an of that time. It's actually even in one place in the Qur'an described as another Qur'an. This is what they were given. So it's that's the word of Allah that he's learned. So how is he going to learn something more profound or different from the word of Allah? He already learned the word of Allah. So how is he learning from someone else? You see, there are two kinds of knowledge. There's two kinds of knowledge. There's the knowledge of Allah's words, and there's knowledge of reality. This is what we're going to learn in the story. There's knowledge of Allah's words, and there's knowledge of reality. And just because somebody has learned, profoundly learned, and internalized the knowledge of Allah's words, that doesn't necessarily mean they've been able to truly understand the knowledge of what? Reality. Those are two different things. And the scholar that he's going to learn from, he's been given the other knowledge, the knowledge of reality. He's been given that kind of, not knowledge of the book. The knowledge of the book is with Musa alayhi salam. And it's profound knowledge. It's the height of knowledge. But this is a different kind of knowledge. And that's the other reason I wanted to highlight why is it that Allah Azza wa Jal mentions his humility so powerfully and then adds